Hello and welcome to episode 4 of MechWarrior Online. Today we will be discussing patch note number 14, which occurred on October 25th. This is a very major patch, not just because of the contents inside the patch, because it's also going to be the last patch before we hit open beta, which is going to occur on Monday, October 29th. The gameplay playing in the background is me playing my Gauss-cat. This is one of the most powerful cookie cutter builds in the game right now. It's probably the closest thing to a sniper that MechWarrior Online currently has. This was recorded before the October 25th patch. Let's go ahead and get started into the patch notes. So the first thing we're going to discuss is that MechWarrior Online has added a new mech. The Cicada, or CDA, is a light mech weighing in at 40 tons, so this is the heaviest of the light mechs. Now you would think that the CDA would have a lot of armor or weapons, but the default spec for the CDA is actually to have light armor and a very large engine. Only one of the variants moves at 113 km per hour, which is equivalent to the Jenner mech. The other three variants move at 129 km per hour. This makes it the fastest light mech with default stats. Of course, we're only talking about default stats. Once you own your own CDA, you can outfit it and customize it however you like. MechWarrior Online, or MWO, also added the first hero mech, which you can only purchase with real money, so you cannot purchase this with in-game money. The hero mech is called the Yang Long Wang, which is a Centurion with a custom paint job. It will receive a 30% C-bill bonus for all matches. For comparison's sakes, the Founders mech get 25% C-bill bonuses for each match. The Yang Lo mech comes outfitted with an AC-20 and 2 medium lasers, and has a standard 215 engine with no upgrades. Overall, there's nothing really special about this mech. It just comes with a custom paint job, and you get extra C-bill bonus for each match. There is currently a debate on the forums arguing whether or not this is a form of pay to win. I personally don't see a problem with this mech. MWO needs to pay the bills just like the rest of us. MWO also added new variants for the Jenner, Raven, and Awesome mech, and that's really it for news on mechs. New mech upgrades have been added to MWO. You can now equip Ferrofibrous armor, or FF armor, Endosteel internal structure, and double heat sinks. FF armor will provide a slight savings in weight, but the more important thing is that it will provide 12% more protection per ton than standard armor. However, the increased protection and the slight savings in weight will cost you 14 critical slot points. Endosteel will give you 5% more tonnage, but it will also cost you 14 critical slot points. Lastly, double heatsinks will double the efficiency of a standard heatsink, but it will take up 3 times more space. So a standard heatsink will take up 1 critical slot, but a double heatsink will take up 3 critical slots. To put in all these upgrades, NWO has redesigned the mech lab, and in my opinion, they have done it in a bad way. Before, you could mix and match equipment until you liked it, and then paid at the very end when you saved your mech. After the patch, if you want to swap upgrades, you have to pay each time, so it ended up costing you a lot of C-bills if you want to try different builds with your upgrades. There has been a lot of discussion on this on the forums, and hopefully we will see some improvements in this. The developers have standardized MC to C-bill pricing, so in other words, MC real money and C-bills in-game currency. They have lowered the cost of engines and increased the price of items. This means that when you buy a mech, the cost will be the sum of its parts. The average MC price for mech is now much lower. The patch notes goes into some details about this reset. There will be one last reset when the game hits open beta. Hopefully this will be the last reset. There has been some changes to how engines now work. All engines require external heatsinks. When you equip an engine, it will tell you how many heatsinks it is required in order to run the engine. Engines rated over 275 or greater will allow you to insert additional heatsinks inside the engine. This means that it will not take up any more additional critical slot points outside of the engine. There is currently a bug in-game where all heatsinks are treated as standard heatsinks when you slot them into the engine, which is the 275 or greater engine. Obviously, players that use large engines and double heatsinks want this bug fixed, but right now the developers are currently debating on how to fix it or even if this needs to be fixed. When you use upgrades like FF Armor or Endo Steel, it takes up critical slot points. Some of these critical slot points are called floating slot points. What this means is that upgrades that take up critical slot points will automatically flow into empty critical slot points. A floating slot point will appear in white. It tells you that if you put an item in its place, it will move itself to another slot point. However, if the critical slot point is yellow instead of white, that means that you cannot put an item in its place. It will not automatically move to another empty slot. Here are the gameplay notes. The collision system has been removed from the game. Mechs that run into each other will no longer be knocked down. It appears that the developers did not like how the collision system was working, so they decided to remove the system and then implement a completely new system when it's done. Many players feel that this gives too much of an advantage right now to light mech players. Line of sight check is now higher on the mech, so targeting can occur. Only 25% of the mech needs to be visible over the hill instead of 50%. AC cannons, Gauss guns, and PPC lasers type weapons now pass through water and deal reduced damage depending on the depth of the water. A new zoom module has been added into the game. It provides a 4x zoom in a picture-to-picture format, but to be honest, after trying it out, I really don't think it's all that good, especially for 2 million C-bills. And here are the bug fixes. 2 AMS mechs, such as the Atlas AS-7-K, now correctly destroys double the missiles. PPC laser cannons will no longer cross at extreme ranges. Players are no longer able to zoom or change vision modes when their mech is shut down. Target hit indicators for missiles now work correctly when the hit actually does damage. Lastly, here are the devs' implementation of movement improvements.